What's going on, guys? Battle Nexus issue 5. This is our last issue for the Battle Nexus spin-off series. And here we have Slash versus Mikey here. So this is the final of our four brothers. We've seen Savanti. He's captured everybody in the Battle Nexus. He's held the council for hostage, and he's forcing our mainline series guys to fight a bunch of enemies who are more like friends than anything. So outside of Leo, we had Raph fighting Alapex, Donnie fighting Metalhead. Now we have Mikey fighting Slash. And so the only person that really fought an enemy was Leo fighting Shredder. And no matter the outcome, we had Leo lose, Raph came to a draw with Alapex, and Donnie flat out won. No matter the outcome, they all went to like a prison dimension because Savanti is just being unfair with his rulings on things. And that has been an issue that I've had with this series so far. Overall, I've been enjoying it. I think I've called it about a 7 out of 10 up to this point. So we're going to continue on with our series finale here. So we have Eric Burnham is our writer and art by Ben Bates. So Mikey's over here. He's looking real beat up. Slash has been just whooping his ass. But it hasn't completely crushed his spirits. He's making some jokes like, man, Slash, have you been working out? And Slash is like, fight or be destroyed. And Mikey says, hey, we all gotta go sometimes, but I would rather not die at the hands of a friend or fighting a friend. So come on, I missed you. Don't you remember anything? And then we get a little flashback as to what happened with Slash. So there was the explosion that supposedly killed him, but we see he got brought out of that fate and brought into the Battle Nexus world and was just fighting nonstop. And they said that basically it seemed like it had been centuries for Slash. Like he's just because of the Battle Nexus world being kind of interdimensional, that time worked differently, and it felt like centuries of fighting for Slash. And Savanti took full advantage of basically his bloodlust here. So then we cut back to the fight, and Slash is continuing to beat him up. And Mikey still has enough strength to avoid any death blows, but yeah, he is not going to fight his friend, and that is what he is decided he is just flat out not going to do. Cut over to Alapex, and the person I've said is likely going to be the last Ronin, Michelangelo. They're discussing, Alapex is like, why didn't he just fight? And this other person says, deep down, Mikey would rather die than give up hope. So he understands where Mikey's coming from, and he's just trying to explain that to Alapex. Over here, we have Renette just trying to tell Savanti, hey, call off the fight, otherwise Michelangelo's going to die. And Savanti's like, no, after all, it is a death match, which is bullshit because nobody's died so far. Even when Leonardo got stabbed by his own katana, we saw him in the other dimension. He's fine. But yeah, he doesn't seem to be at all put off by the lopsided fight, which doesn't make sense for what he was willing to do for Donatello against Metalhead and lowering Metalhead's defenses. That doesn't add up. A lot of my issues with this series so far is Savanti just kind of being real wishy-washy as to what he wants to do. He says he wants to humiliate and punish the turtles, but then he's willing to do something silly like making it easier for Donatello. Why? It doesn't add up. Renette tries to rush over to Savanti. Ninjara kicks her rather, and she's like, you need to chill out with everything. You're kind of actually tearing this place apart. That seems kind of forced in there. We hadn't really seen a whole lot of this Battle Nexus dimension being torn apart, but now it's a thing, and he doesn't want to hear anything and banishes her also to the same dimension. Because that was what Ninjara asked. Hey, did you kill her? Nah, I just put her with her friends. And that's also another issue for me. Okay, on multiple fronts. One, we found out that Renette could be of use to the other turtles over there, so we just kind of arbitrarily throw her in there now. Just because. We could have done that a long time ago, but now is the time to do it. It would have made more sense if you really needed her to already just have her there and not have to witness everything. And also, it's a multiverse. Why is everybody going not only to the same dimension, but in like the same, like roughly 20 square foot of of the dimension? Like everybody got placed in the same exact area. To really kind of ensure your victory and make sure that there is no possible way your enemies can come back and get you, why wouldn't you just split them all up? Every single one of them. Put them in a different dimension. That just... This is going to be an ongoing thing in this particular issue, is Savanti is not at all intelligent here. And to further my point, now he suddenly cares about Mikey. And he comes over and starts kicking Mikey, and he's throwing a big old fit because he says that Mikey's making a mockery of the whole Battle Nexus. Well, he was fine just a moment ago watching Slash kick his ass. Why is this now an issue for him? But it allows Mikey to give a little cheap shot to Savanti. The way I interpreted this, it's a little harder to figure out what happened exactly. But it looked like Savanti went to kind of go stomp on Mikey, and he came up a little bit and used his shell to kind of more or less hurt his leg. And so he's over here, he's like, ooh, ow, 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 ow. And gets some chuckles from the console guys that are all still held against their will. This angers Savanti more, and he zaps Mikey. And he's all pissed off here, and Shredder's yelling out to him. We're seeing now that the Nexus dimension is starting to come to pieces, and that's what that's illustrating here. And so Savanti's like, all right, I'm gonna finish off the turtle, and we're gonna be done. And so he's like, any last words? Mikey says, not to you, but to my friend Slash. He says, no matter what happens, you'll always be my brother. And apparently this now reaches Slash. Mikey's been trying to talk to him since the beginning. Like, from the moment that they arrived, he's been trying to get through to Slash and just try to, like, have some sort of bond with him again. And only now, when it really, really matters, does the words finally ring out. And I'm like, fine. I know that that's kind of a trope, but it's a little frustrating. Like, this is just more of a nitpick at this one, but it's just a lot of things starting to build up in this issue. And so, yeah, as Savanti is getting ready to finish off Mikey, Slash goes ahead, smacks Savanti. He turns around and tries to throw a blast at Slash, but then a green portal appears, and Alopex and this other person, they're very happy, and Savanti's less happy. And we see all the turtles who were trapped in the prison dimension making their way through, and presumably Renette also made it through as well. We don't see her in this shot, but we'll see her later. So presumably she came through later. Now, something I'm kind of wondering right off the bat, sends a blast, that's a portal, not like a force field of any kind, so nobody got zapped there as soon as that thing opened. Okay. That's a little bizarre, but Savanti realizes that they're outmatched even with Shredder and Ninjara, so he opens up another portal, and all the infinite Bebop and Rocksteady clones from that series back in 2016, which is noted down here, is they're all coming through this portal to help kind of open up the odds here. And I gotta make note of this. This seems a little aggressive here. So they're, as as we've seen reading comics, they'll just kind of make note of where a certain thing came from. In this case, the whole Infinite Bebop and Rocksteadies. And that's just a note being made here, but then it was just like, pay attention. And it's just like, okay, why add that word? And that seems just a tad on the aggressive side. It's kind of a odd thing to say to your readers. But yeah, moving on. So Metalhead goes ahead and blasts open part of the wall. So Alopex and the Last Ronin of Mikey, the 87 cartoon version Last Ronin of Mikey, comes through. So I was partially right. I had him pegged as the Last Ronin version. I was thinking more of the comic series than the 87 cartoon. So that was kind of a neat little thing. I enjoyed that. I also enjoyed the callback to the last time Savanti got involved in things, at least the last that I'm aware of, where all these Bebop and Rocksteady duplicates happened and the whole multiverse went all crazy. So fun little callback there. And nice little addition with Mikey. And we were explained in here that Savanti wanted to punish this one the most out of all of them. Not exactly sure why, that doesn't really say, but that's why this version of Mikey was always in that holding cell with all the others and not in the prison dimension with this group over here. So a fight ensues, and we see Renette over here freeing the council members, starting with Lord Simultaneous. And another thing I do enjoy is Leonardo getting his rematch with Shredder and is able to, after he's had kind of some heart-to-heart with his counterpart, kind of being able to free his mind a little bit and act more fluently and not stumble as much as he did last time, and was able to overcome Shredder. That was a nice little thing I did enjoy in this one. The fighting continues, and we see Alopex is making a jump over here at Savanti before Ninjara stops her and pins her down, and Alopex is like, ha, I just needed to distract you, which frees Raph up to take the tail of Ninjara from Savanti, for which he is quickly decapitated. His capo was detated. And the head then lands over here with the Adventures version of Raph. And I gotta say, I hated this. I really hated this because this was so forecasted to us from, I believe it was issue 3, where we get that little backstory for Ninjara. And I said then what was going to happen, that her tail was going to get freed from his clutches and she was going to fulfill the destiny. And it was just like the whole thing, the whole ending of Savanti was given to us. And I hate that. I really did not like that. I guess that's not as much of an issue for this one as it was for issue 3. Because I'm just like, you just told us the whole ending right there. Why? Why did you do that? And then, of course, she becomes a good guy, and I had issues with it back in that other review where I'm like, we could have an awesome villain character, because basically at this point we have Bebop, Rocksteady, and then on occasion Hob. Why can't we have more mutant villain characters? And she's like a stealthy warrior ninja type person too, and she could be really formidable against the turtles. It would be better to see, because we've already seen Alopex have to go from villain to friend. Why can't we just have a villain character? And so I was not a fan of this at all, because just to kind of round out the rest of this page, she offers up her servitude because Raph holds the tail. Raph's like, nah, you go ahead and just have your tail back. And she's like, please call me Yumiko. And I'm probably still going to just refer to her as Ninjara quite a bit. It rolls off the tongue a lot easier. It's much easier for me to say. So I'm just I'm gonna go with that, but yeah, that's Umiko is what she prefers to be called at this point. Renette has the scepter now and is wanting to go give it to Lord Simultaneous. Trips, falls, and breaks the scepter. And then, of course, the Donatello's scepter that they used doesn't work. We're not sure as to why. We're not given any kind of information as it being a limited use or anything like that. But yeah, oops, it's not working either. So fuck, what do we do? As we see that now this dimension is coming apart completely and sucking up everybody, at least all the bad guys. It's pretty convenient that the good guys are not being sucked up. Now we do see Metalhead. He's the only one that we see that's in any kind of possible danger. We see the other version, Donatello, seems to have his like staff in the ground, but I just don't know how that's grounding him. I took a look at the staff. It's got like a sharp edge to it, so I don't really see it how it's hooking into the ground to keep him from flying up in the air too. And then we see like Shredder, Savanti's head is being pulled away from the Adventure's Raph, but Raph is staying planted. He's not grounded to anything. I mean, unless his feet are just like on some roots or something like that, there's no way of seeing that he's on the ground. So something as light as Savanti's head, something as heavy as Bebop and Rocksteady are all being flung up into this this tear in the dimension, but all the heroes are safe. That's pretty convenient for our heroes, I suppose. And that is a huge flaw here. But Lord Simultaneous, he throws up a shield to kind of help protect everybody. And they're trying to figure out, well, what do we do? The Time Scepter's not working. How do we get back home? And then Ninjar is like, well, we all have like a way to get back home. All you have to do is just carve this into something or something similar, and it'll work. And even the comic acknowledges how ridiculous this is. But I'm like, you acknowledging it doesn't make it any less ridiculous. That just means, yeah, we couldn't really figure anything out. Maybe you should have just stuck to the secondary Time Scepter being a better way out than this contrived thing. So they find a door. They all take their turns carving into it. A way home that has a pretty questionable look to it. Perhaps the 1940s would be a more fitting spot for them to go to at this point. And just to be clear, I'm not calling anybody anything in particular. I'm just making poking a little fun at our design here, for the record. And yeah, everybody goes through the portal and everything's hunky-dory, including our council members. And we get a look at our final member here, and it was the original version of Splinter. Kind of. I remember he was a little bit more... His hair was kind of more all over the place, and this seems a little bit more groomed, but I think we are supposed to interpret this as the original version, so I'm not going to nitpick that one too much there. I'm just saying, if maybe I'm mistaken on which version, but I do believe it's the original comic version, much like the Shredder. So now we get a few epilogues, and our first one is Simultaneous and Renette just kind of cleaning up the damage, with Renette doing most of the heavy lifting as far as the actual cleaning part is concerned, and it's like a big gun vacuum thing. She complains, and Simultaneous just tells her to shut up. Not bad. I enjoyed that. And then our second epilogue is our mainline heroes all show back up, and we see Slash has joined. So it would seem that Slash is now back alive, and this does actually have consequences for the mainline story. We brought Slash back to life. But yeah, Slash and Alopex are both there. Everybody's just got the warm fuzzies going on. You know, Slash is feeling really bad for everything he's done. Mikey tells him, don't worry about it. Alopex and Raph seem to have made up for at least good enough to be friends. and everything looks to be hunky-dory. And then last shot we have is now Ninjara seems to be part of this world as well, just based on the sun setting and the sitting. We didn't see her come through the portal, but we do see everything seems to be very similar as far as our setting. So I think she is in fact part of this world here and not part of her original world. So now she's out and about too, and that's where we end the series. And man, yeah, we did not stick the landing. Not by a long shot. I had nothing but problems and just frustration while reading this. Savanti just allowing this, that, and the other, like just making dumb decision after dumb decision after dumb decision. The whole bit with Ninjara fulfilling the destiny that she was set out to do. I'm like, oh, God, that's going to be what happens, isn't it? And she's going to be a good guy. And sure enough, that's really frustrating when I see it so telegraphed that way. And it's just like, yep, that happened exactly the way that it was said. I do like a handful of things out there. The whole Last Ronin 87 Mikey, I liked that reveal. I was pleasantly surprised. Leo getting the one up on Shredder, that was good. The Bebop Rocksteady nod there, where there's just a big flood of them coming through, that was pretty good. But the overall fight was, you didn't really get to see a whole lot going on there. All these different versions of the turtles, we didn't really get to see them do a whole lot of fighting in that. It was over fairly quick. So it seemed like this series could have benefited from another couple issues to really kind of help draw everything out, and maybe that battle wouldn't have to be so quick and abrupt. So yeah, at this point I would call this a 4 out of 5. Like it frustrated me more than it brought any kind of happiness to me, and it's just riddled with flaws. And I think I did a pretty good job covering everything. I might have missed a thing or two in there. But yeah, this thing is just riddled with all sorts of flaws. And most of it's just like, our villain's stupid because we need him to be. And I don't like that kind of stuff. I'd rather they try to figure things out in a better fashion. And ultimately, I think that this is going to bring the series down to like a 6 out of 10. Like, it really just... And I could probably be talked into a lower ranking from there. But, yeah, this one definitely hurts it quite a bit. I honestly wouldn't recommend anybody check this one out unless you wanted something for funsies, and are okay with a very, very flawed ending. Otherwise, I mean, also, I guess if you want to see how Slash comes back into our mainline series, this is where you would find that answer, since it seems like that's what we're doing now. Time will tell, I guess, in the mainline. He's yet to appear, so we'll see what happens from there on. But yeah, this one definitely suffers quite a bit. And so, not a huge recommendation for me unless you just want to collect, or like I said, want to have the point in which Slash comes back to life. But that is all I have for today, guys. So until next time, take care and God bless.